Like Canada has a deal, perhaps. Let's get into it, guys. Lots of liberals are praising Taco Trump right now, going Taco Trump, stand down. We'll see what happens with this deal. We'll get into it first before we get into let's get into it. CBC News, The National. Trump pauses 50% tariffs, says new trade deal reached.
Can you take us through what the leaders are saying?
Well, as you mentioned, Donald Trump says there's a new deal between Canada and the U.S. Canada's prime minister isn't going that far. Mark Carney says progress has been made, but there's more work to be done. Both leaders do agree a new slate of tariffs are postponed for at least 3 days. This was made public less than 2 hours before those 50% tariffs were supposed to take effect on some $28 billion in Canadian exports. Trump broke the news in his usual bombastic way, posting on Truth Social, saying, "I have paused the 50% tariffs against Canada that were scheduled to kick in tomorrow morning for a 3-day period based on the fact that Canada and the USA, subject to the finalization of documents, have a deal. The great Keystone XL pipeline, long ago killed by sleepy Joe Biden, may be awoken from the grave. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump."
That's hilarious. So wait, Trump's hinting at the Keystone pipeline being revived? Oh my God. Oh baby, if Carney does that, oh my God, Alberta will never separate ever again. That's not true. They will. But what can you say as a separatist to that? The separatist thing is a whole different thing. For me, it's like local, right? Like Alberta is just a cesspit. But so is that part of the deal? But it says may be awoken from the grave. The great Keystone XL pipeline that was killed by sleepy Joe Biden may be awoken from the grave. May be awoken from the grave. That's not saying it's a finalized thing. But here's my take. For anyone who thinks Carney won this, I will tell you that's not the reality, I guess. Pausing the tariffs is good because, sure, it helps Canadian business sell to the USA, right? Canadians don't get anything out of this deal besides, oh no, maybe I get to keep my job at an export factory. Whoopie-doo. Woohoo! Thanks. It's not really like life-changing stuff. The Keystone Pipeline is probably going to get all of the conservatives fucking like riled up, right? I wonder how the liberals will feel. I think the liberals are just conservatives now. Everyone's a conservative now. So if the Keystone Pipeline goes, even is part of the deal, right? It's like good for oil capitalists on both sides. America loves oil, and Canada loves to sell oil. Alberta, you know,
now,
Danielle Smith loves her oil too.
Keystone XL is part of a new agreement. That means further energy cooperation with the United States, and that is one of the things the U.S. wanted in a deal. The Keystone XL pipeline has a long history. It was supposed to run from Alberta to the U.S. Gulf Coast refineries. It was canceled in 2021 when former U.S. President Joe Biden revoked its permit after years of Indigenous and environmental opposition.
So, Kate, this post from Trump was followed by a presidential proclamation. What did it say?
Well, it confirms that the tariffs are being delayed by at least 3 days. It also claims Canada is willing to concede on the major irritants that spurred these new tariffs. Trump was pushing for putting U.S. booze back on provincial shelves, ending retaliatory measures on autos, and allowing equal market access to Canadian dairy as the EU currently has. But Canadians will be wondering, what is in the fine print? Is this the
You know what's hilarious about this? It's so fucking... I love people who think Trump's doing a good job. Like, literally, what she just explained was like, oh, you know, all of the backlash that Canadians are feeling, and like the boycotts and the booze and all this stuff. Let that go away. If we can just, like, that was Trump's mess, and it's like, oh, well, if we just clean up what I already started, you know, we'll be great. We'll be cheeks, you know. But it's kind of like the Strait of Hormuz. It's like the Strait of Hormuz is total Trump fuck up. And It's like, oh, thanks for the higher gas prices, Trump. Whoopee, yay. I gotta stop saying whoopee doo. Why do I say whoopee doo? Who implanted that into my brain? I guess my parents. Whoopee doo is so cringe. Nobody says that.
Comprehensive deal Canada wanted, and what is the Canadian side giving up? These are all the details we're going to be looking for when something formal is released.
Yeah, those are the big questions. All right, Kate McKenna in Washington.
Sleepy Joe.
So let's head to Ottawa now and Ashley Burke. So Ashley, we now have this statement from the Prime Minister's office. What does he say?
Adrian, Prime Minister Mark Carney said substantial progress has been made, although there is important work still to be done, adding, while we continue this work, Canada remains focused on building a stronger, more independent and more competitive economy at home. Now, he has said that this is the way to be in a strong position at the table and that he's been preparing for all possible scenarios.
I like that.
We know
the difference. I love, like, just look at Trump's statement compared to Carney and any other world leader. It's like, at this point, why bother with the pleasantries? I guess, like, Trump, I mean, you don't have to be Trumpian. You just have to, like, Trump is being himself. And unfortunately, himself is like a big, egotistical, racist pedophile. But that honesty won, apparently. Honesty wins. Who knows? I don't know, guys. Just try to be a little more transparent, maybe. I don't, maybe that would be better.
The government has been working on a plan to respond if Trump hits Canada with these new tariffs, and likely still will be, since at this point, this is only a 3-day pause. A Canadian source told me earlier tonight that the government has been looking at a range of options, including
what Canadian source? Name your source.
Tariffs. Several members of Mark Carney's advisory committee were calling for retaliation if a deal wasn't reached.
So the reality is what the U.S. views as retaliation can often be the very leverage that Canada needs to build up in order to be able to get a fair deal against these attacks. We cannot just sit by and have the U.S.
Never heard of them.
Wallop us over the head with tariff after tariff after tariff.
Why? I don't understand. Am I just missing something about tariffs? Am I just missing something? It's a tax, people. It's a tax. When Trump says we're tariffing you, he is hitting Americans with a tax. He's not hitting anyone else. He's hitting American consumers, American capitalists who buy abroad. He's hitting them with tariffs. It just makes it harder for Canada to sell to the USA. That does not mean that Canada is just cooked or that we cannot sell anywhere else in the world. This doesn't make any sense where it's like, oh, we're getting walloped. Just really taking a wallop in here. And it's like, you know what really causes the walloping? Not just the tax increase, but the capitalists at the very top saying, well, I gotta lay all you guys off because I expect a certain profit margin. And I could eat into those, perhaps, but I'd rather just fire you, replace you, be more efficient. No one blames that. That's always happening, whether an economic crisis is happening or not.
She warned earlier today that Canada can't just take it and give concessions or the hits will keep on coming.
And other than retaliatory tariffs, what's a range of options the government's been considering?
Well, earlier this summer, the Prime Minister said that he didn't see the value in holding back energy exports to the U.S., including Alberta's oil, because it's important for Canada to be known as a reliable supplier. A member of his advisory committee, Aaron O'Toole, said that they need to look at options that don't hurt national unity or Canada's economy.
Yeah, no shit. It's like this how do you retaliate is up to not Mark Carney. Not up to Mark Carney. Not at all. No. The cat is just scratching away back there. Can you see him? It hurt him. But anyway, the retaliation it's not up to Mark Carney. It's not up to the people of Canada. How Canada retaliates. How Canada retaliates is up to the capitalist class of Canada. Okay, that's why energy exports are not going to be withheld, because capitalists need their profits because they're selling to the USA. So that's not happening. I don't think a hot war is going to happen. I don't think you're shutting off electricity. What else can you do besides tariffs?
Like potentially bringing back the digital services tax that Donald Trump does not like. But how the government responds will really depend on if Trump still hits Canada with new tariffs after that pause.
Indeed. All right. Thank you, Ashley. That's Ashley.
Okay, so hit them with a tax. So that's the retaliation, is hit them with some other tax. We're just going to go tax for tax, baby.
Ashley Burke in Ottawa tonight. So let's go right to Peter Armstrong. Thanks for coming in, Peter. Reaction from Canadian
Arms don't look very strong, though.
I've literally got my phone on the desk, and I'm hearing from them. And you probably heard their giant heaving sigh of relief across the country.
That's what that sounds
when
like.
this came out. But they've still got plenty of questions. As both Kate and Ashley have said, any deal involves compromise. As we get those details, that relief is going to shift to anxiety about what it took to get this deal across the finish line.
So as we've heard, Donald Trump says, he's pausing these tariffs for 3
he's
days.
like scratching.
So for businesses,
All right, well, you get back to it, Mal. I'll, do your thing. I'll do my thing.
Clearly mean that a crisis is averted, just sort of delayed.
For the moment. And that's the concern, right? Because these tariffs were very specifically designed to squeeze businesses, to squeeze industries, to squeeze regions and provinces as well. And remember, the Canadian economy was weak coming into this trade war. It was made weaker by the first round of tariffs. It would have been made weaker by the second round. And yes, the Canadian economy, we've talked about this before, has been more resilient than I think a lot of people had expected. But you were going to add in this new round of tariffs, a new layer of uncertainty, a new layer of cost. That's going to add up. And it's, we were looking at like a 0.5% hit to Canadian GDP, which doesn't sound like much, Adrian. But, you shave a half point off Canadian GDP. It's not like we were in excess. That would take us all
GDP is the whole, the entire economy. So 0.5% is enormous.
All the way back to 0% growth, struggling, flirting with a recession, no job growth, a real economy that's in crisis.
Wow, it really sounds like capitalism is doing great, guys.
But as I say, starting to replace with anxiety.
And what's your sense of whether Canadian businesses could actually survive with any new tariffs?
So different industries, different sectors have different approaches on that. I think the softwood guys were expecting some kind of a tariff. The steel guys were hoping they'd be able to avoid it altogether. The auto industry has said, look, the tariff being proposed by the American side was bigger than our profit margin. So it simply wasn't workable. All of that is coming into the conversation now as we start to get the information about
just
what level we're looking
nerd.
at for each of
those
individual industries.
Okay.
Get better. Get better at scaling, nerd.
Crisis not yet averted, but a pause is welcome for so many. All right, Peter Armstrong, thank you.
Oh, thank God. A huge sigh of relief from just all Canadians, breathing a huge sigh of relief right now, everyone. Oh, did you feel that huge sigh of relief? Oh, Canada has a deal. Is your pocket feeling any better? Are your prices coming down at the grocery store? Can you afford a home? This deal ain't gonna do fuck all. Fuck all for me, chat. Anyway.
Yeah, you bet.
Let's keep rolling. CNN, Trump pauses 50% tariffs. Man, what? You are on the table now? Dude. I'm trying to Facebook Marketplace sell a bunch of shit. I don't need him. There you go. All right. He's getting down. Good boy. Good boy. There you go. All right. Anyway, Trump pauses 50% threats on Canada.
President Trump hits the pause button on his threat to impose a new 50% tariff on imports coming into the United States from Canada. It was set to take effect today and would have impacted about $20 billion worth of imports, including dairy, alcohol, furniture, and clothing. To unpack all of this, let's go live to CNN economics reporter Elizabeth Buchwald, who's joining us from New York. Elizabeth, this is significant. What does this pause mean for any deal between these two countries that supposedly are such strong allies?
Yeah, well, it's a classic thing that we've seen over the past year and a half.
Supposedly best friends.
Our announcements.
We were besties.
And right now we're getting 3 extra days of breathing room here. And it's not necessarily going to be good or bad. We don't know yet, but it seems like there's a lot on the table. Trump was talking about The Keystone XL pipeline remains unclear what's happening there, but it does seem like there is some room for things to improve a bit. And this is all happening in the context of the broader U.S., Mexico, Canada trade agreement that's up for renegotiation. So it does seem like if there's going to be a deal on Canada's part especially, they're going to want to cement it in for good and not just have these back and forths with 3 days here, a month there.
So products coming into the United States from Canada, the price for American consumers are going to go up and up and up. Elizabeth Buchwald, thank you very, very much.
Yeah, we had a very good...
Thanks, Trump. I can't believe like Americans fell for this shit, even during the election campaign. It's like tariffs are a tax. It's a militarized tax. I don't know. Trump has gotten conservatives who love taxes, don't understand it at all.
Conversation with the Prime Minister last night, and we've come to a deal with Canada. As you know, the 50% tariffs across the board were going on against Canada today. And they called yesterday and they gave us the points that we had to have. Very fair deal for both. The tariffs will be non-existent for our farmers. Our farmers were paying tremendous tariffs into Canada, and those tariffs are going to be totally eviscerated, down to zero.
Is that true? I don't even think that. Did Canada have any tariffs on USA farmers? Huh?
We're doing certain things. Got to give something, and we're doing certain things. They were paying a high number. We're reducing it a little bit. It's good for everybody. But our farmers are going to be thrilled. Our manufacturers
everything he says is nonsense.
And, basically, we have no tariffs going into Canada anymore. Canada was charging us tremendous tariffs. We no longer have any tariffs.
All right, for more on The View from Canada.
He said Canada, what?
Canada right now. I want to bring in the former...
He said Canada had tariffs on the U.S. farmers? I don't think so. Why would we do that? We literally matched the 100% tariffs on China with you. With the EVs, farmers, I don't get it.
Quebec Premier Jean Charest. Jean Charest, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome back to our show. First off, what's your reaction to what we just heard from President Trump?
Don't know who this Canadian guy is.
Well, we made a lot of progress in the last few weeks in negotiations. We re-engaged after the president announced a new series of tariffs, invoking an old piece of Smoot-Hawley legislation, Section 338. And both the Prime Minister Carney and President Trump decided to re-engage. We've been at the table. We've been talking, and that in itself.
Alaska went blue, boys.
Canada wants a few things. We do not want these new tariffs to come into play. We also want the American side to reduce the tariffs under the 232s. Those are the tariffs of 50% on steel and aluminum, tariffs on cars, tariff on softwood lumber in particular. And on the American side, Wolf, the administration has been telling us that they want to revisit the quota allocation for milk that was negotiated by President Trump the last time, because the American side's not filling its quota. And I think there's maneuvering room for us to talk. We had imposed counter tariffs on cars. They want that to go away.
Pick up the cat,
but they also, on the American side, want the provinces in Canada to put American booze back on the shelves. You may remember at the very beginning of this tariff story, the Canadian government, the provincial governments who run the liquor stores in Canada took American booze off the shelves. It's their decision whether to put it back on or not.
You know what's so stupid about the booze ban anyway is that it gives Canadians less choice at the supermarket. This whole Canadian, all of this nationalism bullshit is all garbage. All it is to do is to feed the domestic capitalists even more profits. So buying Canadian doesn't do shit. It's like, okay, so now I have less options to choose from. Great. And also, with all these tariffs, the prices are going up. I don't know. Like, prices are always going up anyway. even without the
also
tariffs.
Part of what the American side was asking us to do. And once we do all that, by the way, then we have to get down to talking about how we pursue our negotiations on CUSMA in general, which we hope to deal with as rapidly as possible.
You're a key member of the Prime Minister Mark Carney's advisory committee.
Oh, he's an advisor, the big boy. Okay.
Relations. Have you heard anything this morning from the Prime Minister?
My wife called me.
No, the Prime Minister. We heard his statement. His statement was a bunch of nonsense. It was a bunch of bland platitudes.
That our minister, who's responsible, his name is Dominique Leblanc, was meeting with Jameson Greer this morning at 11:15.
Oh, this cat, dude.
There is these new tariffs
all in my wires. Hey,
into place on
wants to go
midnight last night
behind the damn computer.
There's a 3-day pause so that we can finish off the negotiations. Expect both sides to be very careful on what they'll be saying. Hey. No one wants to derail what looks like a possible deal. And if we do get an agreement, what it'll give both sides is just more certainty. And, there's no one, by the way, Wolf, in the United States, the business community, there's no one out there who's saying let's undo CUSMA. They're very supportive of the business and trade relationship with Canada.
This is the thing, again, about Trump. It's like, every fucking one who loves capitalism agrees that free trade is the best overall. And Trump has just completely cooked that to the point where it's like, oh, look at this giant mess. We have to get back to free trade. Oh, Lord.
Including doing away with tariffs. We understand the president's position. He's made it very clear. We get that. But we want an agreement that is going to be good for both sides. I will give you one example, aluminum. It does not make sense for the American side to tariff aluminum. We send 2.7 million tons
a year. Cat, dude.
Aluminum is made of 40% of it is made of energy. It's we export to the United States the equivalent of 5 Hoover dams worth of energy when we export clean aluminum, green aluminum. And you need that, and with what's happening in the Detroit Overmore. More. So there's a good example of where tariffs are not working for the American side and where we should take them off. Same thing for autos, where markets are very integrated.
Very quickly before I let you go,
from here, stop, dude.
A lot of stories coming out that Canadians are...
Okay. This cat, bro. Mow. Dude, this cat, he's getting better at fetching, by the way. This little cat update, but I've been throwing his cat balls. He picks them up, brings them not to me, but he brings them up the stairs and back over to his kind of area. So good enough for me. But then, there we go. We got his toys going.
So angry at the United States right now that they're basically refusing to buy U.S. imported products into Canada, like Kentucky bourbon, for example, and they're refusing to even come to the United States to go to Florida, for example, because they're irritated with the U.S. How significant is that?
Oh, I don't. People are also not traveling to the USA just because they're scared. They're scared of being detained, killed, abused by the police, assaulted, checked at the border and detained, or having anti-Trump shit on their phone. Like,
there's no one in the federal government saying to Canadians not to go to the United States or to not buy American booze, though the provinces took it off the shelves. Canadians are reacting to a situation where they're challenged by the American administration. But the perspective on this, Wolf, that Canadians say to themselves, well, we need to buy more Canadian. It's not that we're hostile to the United States. We want to buy more Canadian products, which is exactly what you want your American citizens to do with American products. So that's the dynamic it's created. But let's get beyond.
Yeah, it's created a stupid nationalism dynamic where the only benefit to buying Canadian, buying domestic is just, unless you're like literally supporting a super small business and not like a giant co-op, like supporting Canada just means putting more money into the Canadian billionaires, the Canadian capitalists, the Canadians who own the economy. That's all it means. That's all it means.
Beyond this trade conflict that we have, and if
they can get their competitors out of their market, perfect.
Canada and the United States have one of the best relationships in the world.
Do we?
And we support each other's economy.
I don't know about anymore.
We're more efficient, we're more productive together, and that's what we want. We want to have a relationship that is going to be good for the American side and good for the Canadian side.
And let's hope that happens. The former Quebec Premier, Jean Charest, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it very, very much.
Just before new tariffs on Canadian goods were scheduled to take effect at 12:01 a.m. overnight,
Taco happened.
President Trump hit pause, saying on social media that the threatened tariff hit was pushed off for at least 3 days, as he claimed the United States and Canada had reached a deal. The response from the Canadian Prime Minister, slightly less confident that a deal was at hand, saying in part, quote, "There is important work still to be done." The tariffs on Canada would have been a 50% tariff on some $20 billion worth of goods, covering everything from dairy products and alcohol to furniture and more. About 5% of Canadian exports.
Oh yeah, and
to
my
the
hockey
United
sticks.
States. This morning, U.S.
American hockey players going to get hit hard.
The progress of these talks is real. A Canadian boycott has hit the industry very hard. A leading industry group noted overnight these bans have caused exports of American spirits to drop by more than 70%.
Canada, keep it up, Canada. Canadians, fuck over USA fucking alcohol. Good job, Canada. Let's keep it going, boys. Push that up to 90%.
Joining me right now is Justin Wolfers, an economics professor at the University of Michigan. It's good to see you again, Justin.
Thanks for being
here. If this set of tariffs would go into effect...
What is this? What is this, homie?
What do you think?
What is this? Believe? Who made that? Listen, I could be like, this guy better have kids is all I'm saying. Because that, if you don't have kids and that's on... I'm just saying.
The impact would be. How would you rate the success of Trump's... I guess we'll continue to call it a trade war, trade tension with Canada to this point.
Mate, calling it a trade tension. I've got a friend who's getting divorced right now, and she calls that tension.
He's Australian, mate.
Look, actually, I want to congratulate the president because we do have a deal. We have a deal with Canada. It was called NAFTA. The president ripped that up, and he renegotiated it and called it the USMCA. The United States literally has a free trade deal with Canada. Both sides have signed it. It's existing law in both countries. What's happened instead is that the president has decided that what he wants to do is up the ante and engage in a whole bunch of melodramatics, which doesn't look like it's going to achieve
Maybe
very
he'll bring
much.
it back to me.
Threatened our free trade partner, one of our closest trading partners and allies, with 50% across the board tariffs. They've come back and they've said, no, we have a free trade agreement. We would like a free trade agreement. And there's all these negotiations that are going on, which are basically how much closer to our existing agreement are we going to get back to?
This is all I hear on the news. I mean, we got to look at X, I guess, to see the conservative approach. Every time I see something about the deal, it's like, oh, well, Trump caused like this massive headache for everyone involved, but we got back to free trade somehow. We're trying to get back to where it was before the president fucked up the whole world markets.
I mean, does this give him leverage over the renegotiations over NAFTA, USMCA, whatever we're going to call it now?
Who, Trump or Carney?
I mean, we can give it a different name every week.
Trump has all the leverage. He's America. Come on.
Not really. Here's the problem. If I came to you, Kate, having been married 7 times and been in 7 different relationships and having cheated on each of those 7 past wives, and I said, Kate, will you marry me? How much would you be willing to give up of your current life to join that marriage with me? The answer is less, because I had shown myself to be an unreliable partner. So you might say, I'm willing to do the stuff with you, Justin, as long as it works for me. But if it doesn't work right away, you know what? I don't really trust your word anymore. So he's narrowed the scope of things that we could possibly strike an agreement or strike a deal with. That's the first point. There's actually a second point. The president declared early on that he wanted Canada to be the 51st state.
The taco move as usual. Yeah. All the liberals are screaming taco.
To continue the analogy, he's not really that keen on consent. It turns out that's a terrible way to begin a relationship. And the problem in Canada now is not.
We can talk a lot about that, can we? Let's boil down a whole section about Trump and consent and the Epstein files, shall we?
Government's doing. It's what Canadians are doing. Canadians are going to the store and they're picking up products and they're saying, was this made in the United States or not? And if it's made in the United States, they put it back down. So Mark Carney and the Canadian government can sign any number of trade agreements, but you can't change what's in the heart of Canadians right now. They have an expression up there, elbows up,
the consumers.
Which is they're sick of being bullied. They don't want to be part of this game anymore. And no matter what trade deals get signed, Canadians don't want to spend time in the United States, for instance.
Listen, as much as people hate on the elbows up slogan, I kind of like it. I like the slogan, man. Because one, it integrates like hockey, like dirtiness of hockey, like elbowing someone right in the face. That's a big thing in hockey. It's a dope slogan. I'm just going to say it's a cool slogan. That's all though. That's all I got.
I mean, Justin, you took me on a journey. I also believe I will be calling my husband in this commercial break. But you brought it. You did. We did land the plane. I think we.
What is happening here? Is there a little flirtatiousness happening here on CNN? What is happening?
We did at the end. Fascinating.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. No. That was not a criticism.